Welcome to Books That Spark, a podcast for parents and caregivers celebrating books that help us with everyday discipleship every day, sparking important conversations with our children. Today we have a special guest with us. She's first-time author Tanya Acquista, and I'm so excited for you to meet her and to hear about her book and all that she has to offer us as we're trying to help our children grow and become great human beings. You'll enjoy this time together. So let's jump in and join the conversation. Today, we have a special guest with us. This is Tanya Acquista. And Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
I'm excited to talk about your book. I have not seen any other children's books really about this topic. There was one kind of about it years and years ago that's no longer in print, but it really addresses an important issue. And so let's just jump right in. The book is called Money Time. We both have our copies here.
Yes.
So tell us about the book and what prompted you to write a book about time.
Sure. Well, actually, it's pretty interesting because I'm a speech language pathologist also. And at the time, I was working with children in a high school setting, I should say high school students. And it's interesting, that's who inspired me to write this book. Because as much as it's for children, it was really for them. They were telling me consistently, I was getting this message that managing time was a really challenging thing for them. They were having a hard time with balancing social obligations, school. And this is how this book came to be. I just had the idea when I was putting my son to bed. He's 2 years old. And I always read him books. And I read him a book. And I just thought of this idea. And I put it in notes in my phone. And that's just how it came out. And there wasn't much that was even needed to be changed. I just put it in the book, in the notes on my phone. And I said, wow, I think this could be a book. So that's how it happened.
In our world today, where children are on their computers and devices so much of the time, I think it's such a valuable lesson. Why do you think it's so important for parents to address this issue today?
It's something that I really should say I still struggle with it at times. And it's something that I feel really should be taught, should be spoke about with children in schools. And in the book, I don't tell the children how to spend their time, but I say that we have to balance, as you said, devices. And I understand that children are studying, but there has to be some time outside. There has to be some time for movement. There has to be some time for nature. There has to be some time for everything to be able to feel like you're a well-rounded person. And so I just think it's very important that parents speak to their children about this young, so that as more and more responsibilities are added to their plate, they know how to balance all of those different responsibilities.
That's true. I was watching a video review on Amazon for the book, and he says, and it helps parents too as they're reading it. And I thought that's exactly right.
Oh, yes, I saw that. I was really appreciative of that review. I remember, yes.
It's good. But, we need to be reminded sometimes. I know I can get on my computer and work for hours. And if I didn't have my watch on that said, stand up,
yes,
I wouldn't even do that. Or I forget to even drink water. And it's like we get so zoned in to what we're doing. And so I love the analogy of our time being money. And you explaining that phrase. What does it mean to say time is money? And you make it very accessible for children. I just think it's so cute and so clear. But I think what I love about it too is the underlying message that when we spend our money or time, we need to think about what is valuable.
Yes.
And you focus in on the relationships. I think my favorite page is where the mom is working. Let me find it.
I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, this one here. Yes. The mom's working and the friend, wish you were here. We had a great time. And it just yes.
It's so true, because that's where grown-ups have money time to spend too, is what I say. We all have money time, children and grown-ups alike. And so we're all working on consistently balancing that time.
Yeah. And this is a very good message for this time of year as well, as we go into the holidays. I think that's always a difficult time to manage with our families too. So what would you say is your main message to parents of how they could use this, how they could challenge their kids, help their children to understand this really clearly, maybe apply it somehow, what would you say to parents today?
Sure. I went to, this is something I'm going to be continuing to do, but I went to one school and I did activities with the children that they were able to bring home to their families. And I think if you actually take note of how you're already spending your time, parents are able to sit down with their children and keep track of how the day went and how parents spend their time as well as the children do, and really see how much time is put into certain activities, and if that day was the day that you feel is ideal for you, or if you feel there's another way that other things you'd like to incorporate into the day. So I think parents could actually apply the book in addition to reading it by making basically like a chart of how the whole day was spent, and then see if there's a way to adjust it a bit and use that for other days and try to make it. That's what I do now with my own schedule, my own time, so that I can fit everything in that would be the most beneficial to me. So I feel that it actually can be applied to an activity that the parents could do at home with children. I'm in the process of creating an activity too, like my own. But at the school, I was working on scheduling with the little ones. And with the little children too, we made clocks. We actually colored clocks and decorated them. And I just said, put in how you spend your time and also ways you want to spend your time. It's something you could do at home also with your children.
Yeah, and if they know how they wanna spend their time to kind of budget that like we do with money.
Yes,
How am I gonna fit everything in? Do I have
absolutely.
too many things on my plate?
Absolutely. Most of us do.
Yes. That's good. I really like that. Do you do school visits, or are you still teaching full time? How does that work?
Yes, after I decided to work part time, I work at a university,
Okay.
and I wanted to dedicate time to being home with my son. But also, I was working in the schools as of last year, and then now I'm here working at a university part time and then writing books. And I'm in the process of writing some more as well. I'm spending most of my time really with him. But also, the school visits is a new endeavor for me. So I started with one school visit recently. It was just wonderful experience. I enjoyed it so much. And then next week I have another one. And so I'm just
Cool.
hoping to continue that for the rest of the school year, because I also have some coming up hopefully in March, I believe is one that was somebody was interested in. So that's my next. When I wrote it, I also had the dream of going to schools with it because I felt that it would be great in the schools. So it's nice to be able to see that come true.
If people want to contact you
Sure.
and talk to you about coming to their school or doing a virtual school visit, how
Absolutely.
would they contact you?
Oh, they can contact me on my Instagram. I can
Okay.
give you my Instagram handle for sure. It's Tanya Lee SLP 7. That is the way that many people have reached out to me.
Okay.
And they can also reach out to me via email, which I could give you too, if you'd like me
Yeah,
to.
we'll put that in the show
Perfect.
notes. Yeah, so people can link right to it. That's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so look for that in the show notes if you'd like to have her talk to your students about money time and time management and doing valuable things with our time. So you mentioned you're working on some other books. Can we have a sneak peek of what they're about?
Absolutely. So it's very funny. There's one book in particular that was the original idea that I had for a book. I said, "Oh, I want to write this," and it wasn't completing itself. Like it wasn't coming together at the moment. And then Money Time ended up being first. But this actually it's similar because it's a metaphor as well for how you have a voice with. It was actually inspired by the speech language pathologist side of me as well, with the voice box, and it's like physically having a voice box, and sometimes we lose our voice box
Hmm.
and we need to find it again. That's the basic premise, and then it's getting there. But that's one. I'm also inspired to write one about, I started to take my son with me on, I was trying to move more this year and also do as many good deeds as possible. And one of the goals of this year was to take my son with me on charity walks for different charities. So I have this idea of also writing a children's book about those walks.
How cool. Oh, that'll be nice.
So we've been to a few together, and I would love to put something together with that in mind.
Yeah. And then challenging families to do the same thing. That would be amazing to
Something
I
in the works.
yeah, I volunteered a lot for the different walks and helping out and handing out water and that kind of stuff,
Oh, how
but
nice.
to involve our kids more in those kinds of things, I think that's so powerful,
Thank
for
you.
them to take part in it, yeah. One of the things my children, we were missionaries in Taiwan, their favorite memory of the 15 years we were there is a mission trip we did around the entire island where they got to be involved in every part of what we were
Oh,
doing.
oh,
And it
that's
was
incredible.
so much fun. Usually the kids are entertained while the parents are doing the missions. And it was really cool to have the kids involved. So
Oh,
I
I love
highly
that.
encourage that. So that I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. I'll be sure to keep you posted about it when it's
Yeah.
completed.
And we'll have you on again and talk about it. That would be great. It sounds to me like your heart is to empower students or children to help them navigate life
Yes. And help
successfully.
myself, help all of us navigate life, including me. I wrote a book that I needed to.
Isn't that the truth? We do
Yes.
that so often.
It's really true.
Yep, that's what we need it to. We talk a lot about discipleship on this
Yes.
podcast and how we can use these books to disciple our kids. So, how could we use money time not to just talk about managing our time and staying focused on what's important? How could we use it in discipling and helping our children follow Christ more closely?
I think I can say, and I also would love to hear your input on it too, since you've read the book, but there's specifically a page in the book that talks about how we can spend time for others and our family and spend time with helping others and doing good for our but for ourselves too, as well as for other people. And I feel like that page was one of my favorite to write. Also, it was written in questions, so can we spend some time with others, our friends, pets, sisters, or brothers, that kind of concept. So it was there to help children to think about it and to, is as much as we can give the guidance, it's also to have them just kind of ponder the questions and think about what ways could they spend their time in doing good, in
Mm,
caring for people and caring for yourself. And I just think that's pretty much what would be the best way to use it if you would like to work on it in terms of discipleship, for sure.
yeah. And I also, even though it's not explicitly mentioned in the book, but as we're looking at those priorities, I think we understand as followers of Christ that if we want to have a quiet time, if we want to spend time reading our Bible and
Yes.
praying every day, we've got to put that on our schedule.
Yes, we
We've
do.
got to set aside that time. And I think teaching our children from day one that making that time with God a priority is spending our money time wisely. And it's not a waste of time, boring, whatever. As a child, sometimes you're like, I got to pray. But if we can help them see that this is valuable because it's building
Absolutely.
a relationship with God, it's not just doing a chore, it's not just checking a box. I think that's what we always say, checking a box that I did my duty.
Yeah.
It's more building that relationship. And we see that with the families in here
Mhm.
as well, that when we're spending time together, we're actually building memories. We're building things that last a lifetime. And so if we can help our kids understand that about God as well, I think
Absolutely.
that would be tremendous.
Building your
Yeah.
relationship with God. There's a piggy bank page where there's
Uh-huh.
this family time, and you could have also time for prayer and time for, you can show your children a visual and have a picture of a piggy bank and say you have to put some of those coins into that time too, is spending time with God. So absolutely. I think the visual of money and using that to show, and I love how you said valuable. We spend time on many things, but really what is valuable is really what the whole premise is of the story.
The other part that I think comes into this too is priorities, because
Yes.
then we're also able to branch off and talk about what's important, what has value for eternity, what has value beyond today. We're making that dollar, that money time worth more because
Yes.
it's not just I spent this hour doing this. I've done something that's going to help me be a better person, help someone else, like you were saying, serving others, helping them to have a better life. There's far reaching consequences for the way we spend our time. What a powerful, powerful thing to teach our children. And then the other part of it that I thought really came in, I used to teach high school too. As I was helping them prepare for college and stuff like that, we started realizing a lot of the colleges are actually having to teach social skills
Oh,
and
wow.
how to
Yeah.
even have a conversation with someone. I feel like your book really touches on that, the social aspect of
Yes.
life and how important that is. And maybe in the future, our children won't have to have classes in college teaching them how to have a real conversation we could
Yes.
teach our kids the importance of that from when they're young. So
Yes,
I think
that's
that you touch on that with what you're saying here as
oh,
well.
thank you. That's really kind of you to say because that is something I find I'm very passionate about. And it's obviously being a speech language pathologist, I'm very passionate about the ability to communicate and to have a
Yes.
conversation. So, absolutely, it's definitely something that's always in the back of my mind for sure.
I wrote a review on Amazon too. I just think this is an
Oh,
excellent book, and I'm so
thank
glad you
you.
wrote it.
Thank you.
and and it's been
Thank you
really
so
fun
much.
to talk with you. Yeah.
It's been so
I
fun talking with you too. This is amazing. It's really
I
incredible.
look forward to seeing your other books.
Thank
Please be
you.
sure to let us know when they come out. And I just appreciate your time today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for Books That Spark, where we encourage each other to grasp those teachable moments sparked by great books and to live out everyday discipleship, helping to equip our children to follow Christ with their whole hearts. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share and let people know we're here. That's the only way they know we're here is if you help us by liking our episodes and sharing the links. And if you want to ask any questions or leave any comments, you can do that on the blog post on my website. My website is terryhellardbrown.com. And you'll also find the show notes there with the links to reach out to Tanya if you would like to have her come and speak for your school or your group about managing time and how time is money. And I think you would be very blessed to do that. So look for those links in the show notes. We love to hear from you and we respond to every comment or question. And most of all, we pray that you feel empowered to walk by faith and to embrace everyday discipleship every day with the children in your life.